Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me today. Today I thought we'd do something different. A small oval canvas. Something with some red trees. So for now, sit back, relax, have a drink, and enjoy episode 5 of Relaxation Oil Painting, Spring Lake. Okay, sit back and relax. Let's do a nice kind of bright little painting here. I have something different. It's an oval canvas, which is kind of a cool shape, very unusual, harder to manufacture, and this one's quite small. I don't know the exact measurements, but it's about 12 to 14 inches across, maybe 9 inches, so we have to work kind of micro today. Just grabbing a little phthalo blue, which is a nice warm blue color. Believe it or not, there are warm blues. Let's make kind of a happy sky. Start up at the top here, making some color, adding it in. I've already primed the canvas with some liquid white. And I'm just adding some color here. Maybe just a touch of darker blue. Touch of crimson up here, changing the color a little. Now believe it or not, that's about all the color I need, because I'm going to take a large brush, clean dry brush, and start to work this in. So obviously if you leave the white in the middle, you will have the white of perhaps clouds or depth to your sky. So by me blending this anywhere where I left the paint off, it has that effect of a sky. And I'm going to try this. This canvas is really hard to hold on the easel, so I'm going to try and hope that it stays. The smaller the brushes, it won't come off. So just that quickly, we have kind of a bluish sky, a little bit of violet up there. I want to leave the bottom fairly white. So that only took just a few seconds to make that sky. In case I want to add some water, I'm going to take a little more of the phthalo blue and just put a little in here at the bottom. This is just in case I decide I want water in. Just adding some color at the bottom. Don't need much. This is a powerful color. I may go over it, I may not, I'm not sure yet, but make sure your lines are straight. It'll be darker toward the edge. That's better. This is a nice, as I said, a nice warm blue. And just by pulling these lines across, it forms. Now I leave the center white because I want that to be where the light of the sun, whoops, I just knocked Bob off. That's alright, he'll survive. It's a bobblehead. It's given to me by a student as a gift. He'll survive down there. So just that quickly, we have water. And you can see just by me moving the 2.5 inch brush, I can make these waves here. This is good practice. A lot of these times I don't use what I put underneath, but just think of it always as practice. So if I completely cover this with a different color, it doesn't matter. It's all practice. So already we have kind of a nice bright sky. I can add a couple of small kind of clouds in here. So let's see, I'll take a little bit of, just a touch of thinner Going to the straight titanium white here. Let's see if we can add some clouds using a liner brush, quite different. So if I come up here and just kind of add some brightness, hope the camera can pick this up. A thin paint will stick to a thick paint. So I add a little bit of paint thinner to make this thinner. And you can probably hear me scraping the canvas. I'm just making circles, just trying to make some cumulonimbus clouds up here. And you can see with the dark against the light it shows up. Most of this will be covered up, but you might see some through the trees and things that we do later. I don't know. Can you see those on the camera, I hope? There, it just gives a little bit of nice cloudy effect to it. I'm going to take the same clean dry, actually 2.5 inch brush, large brush here, and I'm just going to smooth out these clouds, lift them slightly. Makes them look a bit more puffy. Don't want to kill all that detail. Okay, that easy, we have some clouds. Let's see, what should we do next? I'm going to leave that brush there to, I'll probably use that blue later on, so I don't want to wash the brush. Let's make a faraway mountain here. I'm going to use some, let's use some brown for a change. So I have some brown and black. And I'm going to lighten this with a little bit of white. Farther away mountains will be lighter than the ones up front. So we're dealing with value here, changing the value. Just loading up this small filbert brush here. Let's go ahead and add a mountain or two. I'm going to have a tree coming here, I think, today, so I think I'll make a... How far down do I want these? I want some faraway mountains. Let's add a little bit more darkness to it. Feels kind of strange using this very small brush. I'm really only interested in the top shape. I don't care about the rest because that's going to get covered up. I'm just laying in a base. Again, I'm really only concerned about the top. Now I'll use a 1-inch brush. Actually, this is a real soft brush. I'm just going to use this here to pull the shape of the mountains in. I'm diffusing the bottom intentionally to make it look like it's far away. Dark at the top, light at the bottom. It's going to be a very soft painting here. Gives the illusion of faraway haze and mountains. So already we have a nice little line in there. I want these mountains to have no real detail. I really don't even want them to have highlight. I just want the illusion of depth. What I will do is make one little bit darker, a bit closer. So if I add this in here, this mountain's much closer. So, or maybe no, I don't want to kill the foreground. Let's make a different color. I'm going to add some brown, some sap green, and then some white to lighten this up. Let's make some faraway foothills. This is a nice green. Again, I'm using this filbert brush, loading it quite thick with paint. As you can see here, it's a nice color green. This will be the faraway foothills. Layer after layer. Get some more of that color. Now I'm just pulling the top down because I want this to look like faraway trees. I'm just interested again in the top of these hills. It's really cool. You can create tall hills, small hills, you can any direction you want. Don't have a perfectly straight line, you want it to have some interest. I'll make that one a little higher. But don't kill all that white in the middle. Now already what I can do is make the illusion of very, very far away water. So what I'll do here, I'm just going to pull this down. Actually, I don't want water, I do want this dull though. Now let's put a darker, more detailed foothill. So I'm going to go into the darker sap green. Again, as it gets closer, the value changes. This here, I'm going to use a different brush. I'm going to use a, let's use a filbert, but I'm going to use a fan brush here. Grabbing some nice sap green. I want this to look more like trees coming in. Again, we don't have a lot of room in this canvas, so I kind of have to work quite small. This is the one that's going to have more detail because it's trees. Much closer. And I'll show you a little trick in a moment. I'm really only concerned with the top of this tree line. I want a lot of illusion of thousands of trees. some darker green on the top. There we go. Don't want to kill all that dark. You could spend so much time just making thousands of trees in this forest. Now pulling this down. Getting a different brush. Pulling that into the water. Let's get out a knife here. I have a few different size palette knives going on. A small one and one that's a bit larger. Let's see, let's use this knife. I'm going to grab some of the liquid white, which is extremely thin paint. Make a water line here. I want this line to be fairly straight right now. I'm not really using much perspective yet. So you can see how that instantly cuts the forest. It makes it look like a large lake right now. Wash that off. These paintings go very fast. Now I'm going to cut in some trees. So let me show you how I do that. Let me clean a brush or two. Please excuse me while I clean. Hopefully you've been oil painting or at least doing something artistic in your life. Could be music or writing, even reading. Art is a wonderful thing to relax and to de-stress, to create something, making our days meaningful. Now, using paint thinner, I want this paint thin. I'm going straight into the Van Dyke Brown. I want this to be like ink, really dark. I'm going to create some branches that are coming in from the side. Again, I want to focus on this tree branch coming in. So in this case here, you don't even see it, it comes off. Well, I think I'll bring it up from here. This is your bravery test. Bringing this dark brown in. Adding these trunks in a little later will allow me to add the leaves on top, but you need some sort of base underneath for the leaves to hang on to. It's all right to go right over the mountains. Don't worry about it. Here's one that goes off, comes this way, this way. Most of this will be covered up. But I'll show you in a minute what I do with the colors here in the tree. There, just adding some texture. I want this to be bigger here. There. So there's a simple trunk. Let's be brave. It's a small canvas. Let's be brave. I want to have one. Watch this come right out through. Coming off. Tree you don't even see, it just comes right off the canvas. And again, I'll show you in a moment how we put these branches on. Don't make all these straight. Sometimes they completely veer off. Again, you can't be afraid to cover up the background. That's one of the things I get when people write or ask questions. They're really timid about painting a foreground. You can't do that. You have to fire in. Even if you mess up. Again, all of these paintings that we're doing are just practicing to get just a touch better than we were yesterday. So the more that you add into the foreground, it pushes the perspective back and gives depth to your painting, and that's what you really want. You want some depth, something different. Can't make everything stale. Life is short. Fire in, right? That's what William Alexander used to say. Fire in. Maybe these trees are just kind of filling in. Maybe we'll make fall colors. Maybe they're just coming all over. Maybe this photographer that took this photo had these trees framing in the center of the mountains and the lake. Now let's put some branches on. Again, I'm going to use some reds. I want to really make this kind of fiery here, so I'm going to use some bright red. What kind of brush? I'm not sure yet. I actually think I want a round brush. Do I have round? I do. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to wash this round brush because I used it earlier to put on the liquid white on the canvas, so I can't use that. because, again, thin paint sticks to a thick paint. So I need this dry. Let's put some dark red first and then we'll highlight it. So I'll get this here. I'm going to use some alizarin crimson, a little bit of bright red. I want this quite dark, almost plum purple cherry. Really loading this brush up heavily. A lot of paint on the brush. And then just barely touching the leaves here. Think about the shape of each branch, adding in a little bit of leaves here. Isn't that nice? Now we're changing the whole color palette of this particular painting. Again, don't be afraid to put these right out in the center. It's your world, create it however you want. Don't let naysayers tell you what you can and cannot do. In my world, there are these dark plum trees. Some darker than others. Now see, it looks like I spent 5 days making those with a small liner brush. In reality, it took us 5 minutes. There, I don't know what kind of trees they are, make up your mind, but there they are. Just want a little more here. These pop out more. There, okay. So you can see how easy that is. Now I'm actually going to make a couple highlights on here. So I'm going to use a different brush and put this one down. Do I have another round? I don't think so. Well, yes I do. Good. I have another round brush here. I'm going to make some highlights using a little bit of the same color with a touch of liquid white to brighten it. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. This I'm barely going to touch. So this is lighter, I think. I think it's lighter. Not enough. Probably hear me pounding the paint into this brush. You can barely see that. You can probably not see it on the camera. I'm just touching very lightly where the sun would hit. Don't want exactly the same color all through. There, yes. Okay, that's easy enough. It's a fast painting. Let's take some more of this green. Some black. I want this dark green color here. Let's bring in some land. Adding in some grass down here, which obviously is called the foreground. Now it's a question of, do we want to add more trees, any bushes? I think I'm going to add just a couple of little stragglers here, just a little bit. I want that. I like that line though. There. Maybe this is a steep hill here. Yeah, that's nice. Like something out of Watership Down. Remember that movie, Watership Down, with the rabbits? I love that movie. Not for kids, but I watched it as a kid. Horrified me, but I was so fascinated by it. I own the DVD right now. I love that movie. I think it was Martin Rosenthal was the director. They took a risk, but that was an awesome movie. A lot of politics in that movie. See, I love how you can just create this grass. It looks so soft. Now you could stop right there and just call it a very simple, small painting. What do you think? Should we stop there and keep it really small and simple? I tend to think that the center is a bit boring. As a matter of fact, I'm going to add a couple more water lines. Maybe this lake has a trout in it. So I'm going to get just a touch more of the liquid white. I'm just going to put a few more little lines so that it's not so serene. Of course, the more you move the lines, the duller they get. They disappear, that's fine. Yeah, and you want some dark ones too. Gives that little center a bit more interest. So what do you think? Leave it the way it is, or should we continue? Now some people out there are like, leave it. Other people are like, add more. Some people are going to write ruined. That's fine. This canvas is so small, so easy to just get a hold of and keep adding if we wish. I'm going to make a little more of a hill here. I want this grass to come up. It's nice. It looks like a place you'd want to fish, doesn't it? Cast a fishing pole. Used to love fishing as a kid. I don't fish anymore. I grew up right across the street from a river, so we would fish all the time. Don't like that, so watch this. Piece of paper towel. Comes right off. I love the wet on wet. See that? Oh, yeah. Look how easily you can erase something you don't like. Now, I think I'll just add a couple little small, wash this brush, a couple small little stringers in there, little green stringers. Light green, not too dark. What I'm doing is just making tiny blades of grass on here. Camera may not be able to pick that up. Unless someone mows this area, you're going to have a lot of imperfections, weeds growing. Just by adding a couple of these in here, just gives the foreground a little bit more interest. Especially under that tree. See? I don't know if you can see them, but they're there. See? It just adds a little bit more interest, just a little. This is where the Watership Down rabbits live, maybe. Bigwig. Maybe Bigwig's hiding. And Violet. And the captain of the Arsla, remember him? Guy with the white eye. Rabbit with the white eye. General, help me out, what was his name? Woundwort or something. He was the scary guy that everyone had nightmares about. The leader of the evil rabbits in that movie. Might have been Woundwort, something like that. And then at the end he fought that hunting dog. It's a great scene. Last scene they show him something about don't fear the dogs, and they show him jumping toward this hunting dog, and that's the last you saw of him. Obviously he was killed, although you don't know. It was a mystery, so maybe he killed the dog because he was such a powerful rabbit. You never know. They left it as a mystery for the kids, saying if you're bad, General Woundwort will come get you. It's amazing what adults come up with to scare children, all these myths and stuff. Keep them in line. So I'm just adding thousands of tiny blades of grass here. And it just makes the field look a little bit more interesting. Now I'm going to take a second and highlight these trees. Just taking white. Put a little more detail down here where the sun would hit. Yeah, that's it. Just a little bit of a shine. It just breaks up the trunk of the tree. Catches your eye a little bit. There. Isn't that nice though? I like that blood red color there. It just makes it very different. You don't want all your paintings to be green and blue and gray all the time, so sometimes put a spark of color. We don't know what time of year it is. This looks more to me like spring than fall. It's definitely a brighter painting. Some of the last ones I did were quite dark, so I'm happy with this one. It's quite light. Can't make everything dark. You gotta have some bright ones once in a while. So how fast was that? That was a very fast painting. I mean, these small canvases only take a half an hour if you practice. They're not hard to do. Canvas itself, these round canvases or the oval ones are very expensive because they take a lot of work to manufacture. So I don't recommend getting oval canvases if you're starting out because they're sometimes 3 or 4 times the price of a square canvas. A lot of people find an 18 by 24 canvas too daunting to paint with, which I agree. That's a very large canvas. So if you want to start, if you're going to start this method, pick up, they have what's called canvas boards. Canvas boards are cheap. They're not stretched pigskin. They're not stretched canvas at all. They're literally just a board. It's like thick cardboard with a semi-good surface to paint on, and those are really cheap. And I think they're called canvas boards, and you can find them at art stores. You can order them on Amazon, but they're not expensive. You can pick up a stack of 6, and those are really good to practice on. When you're practiced and you're confident and ready, then you can spend the money on a stretched canvas. And you're getting what you pay for. So don't buy a stretched canvas for $10 that's going to fall apart in 5 years when you hang it on the wall and the humidity changes. So good canvases are anywhere from $15 to $300, no exaggeration. You're paying for the materials, you're paying for the quality of wood and the frame and the structure behind it. Canvas is not just about what's on the front, it's on the back. So if you go to art museums, you know that these artists spent big money on their paints, on their brushes, and on their canvas because they knew if they were going to have something that outlived them, they needed some quality. And then when you're ready, you can start to ask people as gifts, you know, for Christmas or whatever. Hey, I want, if you could get me 3 really good 16 by 20 or 18 by 24 inch stretch canvases for my birthday, I would love that. And then you can have your friends help you out. But just like everything in life, everyone knows out there that's watching, you get what you pay for. And I've always been of the belief that I'd rather save money and get the best or something like it than to keep having to buy cheap things over and over and over again. It's not worth it. So don't buy crappy Walmart canvases. Don't do it. Go Go to art stores and get the good ones and support the small businesses rather than the big box stores. And don't buy everything at Amazon. Even if it's $3 more, support your local art store. They need help. There's nothing nicer than going into an art store, if you're into it, and buying art supplies at the art store where you're supporting the local business, meeting new friends, networking, and you know that your hard-earned money is going to someone that's hard-earning their money. I have nothing against the big box stores. That's the society we live in. I'm all about free market. But I think any time I can spend my money on the local art store, I will do so. And they keep disappearing because it's really hard to keep up with something. And yeah, it's kind of fun to watch someone paint. It certainly relaxes me. I used to watch Bob Ross all the time as a child and loved him. He kind of empowered me to pick up a brush at a young age. And then I didn't paint for, heck, it's got to be a good 20 years I didn't touch a brush. And then what most people do at middle age or approaching it is they go back to their childhood and they start to recreate it. So for some that's called a midlife crisis. I don't think I've had one that I know of. However, I have gone back and purchased childhood things like Bob Ross paints and got back into that again because it brought back good memories as a teenager. And then I started to, a couple years ago, collect Blu-ray movies. Sadly, DVDs are going away already. But I was collecting Blu-ray movies of all these old 80s movies like Watership Down that I mentioned. And a lot of those old movies that brought such good memories. Science fiction and fantasy movies like Dragon Slayer and that crazy movies like Krull. The Star Wars. All the ones from my childhood. Rankin Bass movies of the cartoon of The Hobbit. Just movies that I had a great childhood memory of. So many. I don't know what it is about middle age where we want to go back. I think that we feel the pressure of aging and death coming, and we start to see our parents die and our friends getting older, and the actors from the 70s and 80s and even 90s now that you look on screen and they're all gray and old and you're like, gosh, that seemed like it was yesterday. They were young and gorgeous and beautiful, and now they're all in their 60s and 70s, and every day you turn the news on and another actor that you used to admire is dying, and they never seem very old on film. And then I watch movies that are older from the 60s and sometimes the 50s, black and white movies, and gosh, you just realize they're all dead. I was watching Willy Wonka the other day, the original, the good one, and realizing just about everyone's dead. Even the kids are old now. So many. But I don't know why we tend to collect things from our childhood as we get older. But Bob Ross holds a special place for me. So we will put him back under the red tree where he can sit and watch from the fish out in that lake. So, a very simple painting. Didn't take long at all. I spent more time cleaning the brushes and talking. This will make a nice gift for someone, or just to brighten up the corner of the house or an apartment. It's not hard. You let the paint do the work for you. You just manipulate the brushes to be an extension of your hand. Find the right color palette and you can do miracles. So for now, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I enjoyed myself. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I was totally relaxed and I hope you were too. Hope you can get some sleep now, and I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. And until next time, have a great day for a relaxation oil painting.